All right, so we're coming in at 263,000 non-farm jobs. 263,000. The estimate was for 250. This is a little bit stronger than expected. And there goes the market, and that's the Fed story. Let's get to the unemployment rate. That coming in weaker than expected, 3.5%. Remember, we were at 3.7% last month. Expectations, we were actually going to stay at 3.7. We are now at 3.5 right now. That is, again, the unemployment rate. Let's go through and look at some of the other numbers that have crossed in here. Goods producing jobs, 44,000. Government jobs, a loss of government jobs of 25,000. Average hourly earnings, 0.3%, a gain of 0.3% for average hourly earnings. The U6 rate, 6.7% on the U6 rate. That is, we were 7% last month. Now we're at excuse me, what I just said. Let's go through and go to some of the other factory jobs, 22,000. Again, factory jobs coming in at 22,000, a loss of government jobs. Remember, we gained 40,000 jobs last month in the government sector, and now we just lost 25,000. That's pretty darn interesting. Labor force participation rate, 62.3%. 62.3%. Charles, I know that you were looking for that, and that is pretty much in line with what we had last month, a 62.4%. So again, the average hourly work week, 34.5 hours, and that's actually in line with what we were expecting. Again, going through this, 263,000 jobs. The expectation was we were going to have 250,000, and that is, but I got to point out here, that's weaker than what we had last month. Remember, we gained 315,000 non-farm jobs last month. Now we're at 263. So even though we beat expectations, you are seeing that number actually change just a little bit. As for manufacturing payrolls, again, as I mentioned earlier, 19,000 manufacturing jobs. Private payrolls, which is different from non-farm, that came in at 288. Private payroll. So that came in hotter than expected. As far as average earnings year over year, pretty much in line, 5% jump year over year for average earnings year over year. And again, I gave you that work week and a labor force participation rate again coming in at 62.3. So a lot of things to go through in this report. I want to get, before I send it back to you guys, I do want to find out exactly what the Labor Department is crediting these gains to. What they're saying is notable job gains occurred. They're citing leisure, hospitality, and healthcare as where they saw the biggest gains. But again, that is the headlines, the numbers. I'm going to keep digging through this, send this back to you guys for reaction. But again, Charles, to your point, that labor participation rate, 62.3%, you know, that's the active workforce that is out there. Back to you.
Yeah, and that's down from the month before.